My first film analysis is 50 Shades of Grey. I love astrology so much. You don't even understand. But I'm wanting to be a screenwriter and director, so I started analyzing, there we go, films that I really adore and look up to, such as 50 Shades of Grey. Let's get started with the pros. Okay. So, immediately, as soon as you start watching the movie, boom! I Put a Spell on You starts playing, and the montage is beautiful. Like, I put a spell on you, and then Christian is just jogging. Mwah. And it's just cinematically beautiful, honestly. Like, you got good graphics, you got good camera angles, like, it's kind of giving, like, an introduction to, like, what the main character's lives are, because then it gets into Anastasia, and she's just, like, going to school, you know, her thing. And I feel like the casting was accurate. Like, it was mwah, chef's kiss. When reading the book, as soon as you see Kate, boom, accurate. Blonde, you know? There's other things, I can't remember what it says in the book, though. Anastasia immediately knew that was her. Christian knew that was him. Not hard to miss when Grey is literally on the building. And we're going into the first scene of, like, the meeting. I appreciate the pacing of the scene. It wasn't too fast, wasn't too slow. Very good on the screenwriter and director's part of keeping that cut down. Direction of the awkward "are you gay" thing is, like, really realistic, because she was just, like, double checking what was going on there. I feel like it was really good, and I loved it. I laughed. It was comical. Distinctive elevator scene at the ending. Mwah. You'll see why, because it wraps around. Where it's just like, Anna, Christian. You know? Then when Anna got back to the apartment, the conversation between Kate and Anna was just, like, very real, and I felt like that's girlhood right there. Like, me and my bestie be gossiping like that about any boy. It was really good. Then when she's in class and she's just, like, doing that with her little thing, and it has the gray on it, the Christian Grey pen, you can tell with a subtle hint of the writing and the acting and the direction that she is thinking about Christian. And the smoothness of the work scene where she's, like, in her workplace, he's, like, asking, like, hey, do you have a cable tie? You have a rope? I felt like that was really good. Like, it was just, like, a nice little, oh, you're here again. And, like, all of the camera work is gorgeous. You don't even know. His abrupt decision for no in the coffee house after the photo shoot, it was just beautiful because it shows how he's like, no. When she didn't even say anything about romance or anything, like, she wasn't like, yeah, I love you, I don't want your kiss, I want anything romantic, I want flowers. She didn't say anything about that. He was just like, nope, cut that off before it could even happen. It was very clear in his boundaries, and I loved that in his wants. And it leads to the question, like, as you're watching, like, why? Why not? What are your boundaries? What's the reason, you know? The lighting and set design was gorgeous. You'll see this several times throughout this video, because I wrote it down several times. It was great. And then at the bar, when she's drunk calling him, I loved how it was just so silly and fun, and it shows her disobedience. That's a very key part of her. And it was just, like, in light frames, because she was drunk. Like, but it shows how she really is, because she was drunk and disobedient. Imagine how disobedient she's gonna be when she's not. The dialogue was portrayed beautifully, like, outside, when Jose was, like, trying to, like, kiss her and take that. It was beautiful. It was very, yeah, it was like, no, but, like, in the kindest way possible, like how you would be with a friend who's, like, trying to kiss you. Be like, reject him nicely. Anna's acting is on point for every scene. Oh, in the hotel. That's what that's about. When Gray comes and picks her up, takes her to the hotel. In the morning, she wakes up. Her acting is on point. If there was a shirtless man in front of me who told me no, and is trying to kiss me, is like, no, I can't do this, I don't do romance, I'd be like, too. But like, she is so perfectly, oh my god, I can't even. Then we cut to the elevator when they're going down. The makeout scene, normally people would be like, oh my god, why are they kissing? They just denied that. But they did it so perfectly where he was just like, fuck the contract, you know? Like, it was done perfectly. Love Me Like You Do playing when they're in the helicopter. It's just gorgeously blended into like the shots of like the city, the looking at each other, like the love without there being love, you know. It was blended in perfectly. You can see the love in Christian's eyes, even if he don't want it, even if he won't accept it. You can see that throughout the whole movie. There's like a hint of love in there. When Christian shows Anna the red room, you can tell he's like, please accept it, without saying it, by the specific words that I wrote down. Please say something. He's worried she won't accept it and leave. It's another thing about the love. And then their first time making love. It's just, the whole emotions throughout that entire night were just so real and beautiful. Like, I can't even describe it. It was just so perfect. Salted Wound blended into that scene where they like make love for the first time. Ooh. Don't let no God, you know, it's just perfect. Like, it's a slow song that's so embracing of the first time, and I think that was really a good choice for that scene. And the lighting and mood is perfect for it too, especially since it's her first time. I keep saying that, but like, that was a very important thing for her. And for the first sex scene, and considering it's the popping of her cherry, I appreciate how the camera is 90% on Anna. I really do appreciate that, because instead of it just being on like both of them like the entire time, or like just on Christian being shirtless, you know, like you'd think, hey, I don't want to show that. But I love like the representation of it being her first time, and like really focusing on her reaction. So the camera being on her was really important for that. And we skip to the next morning. The loveness of the breakfast scene was beautiful. Like, you could tell it was so comfortable with her. Then the first bondage experience is portrayed realistically to Anna's character. She's like, oh, what? And this is when they are in the bedroom and he takes the great tie and ties her. And it's just, she's so silly. She laughs a little bit. She kind of defies him by like going to touch him, you know. And it's just so real. Like, I really could see her doing that, and I really appreciate that they stayed true to her disobedience kind of little thing there, even if it wasn't really that serious then. He loves her disobedience. This is going to the when they were in the sub room talking about the contract. She was just like, no, I'm gonna stay here and keep my freedom for a little bit longer. You can tell Christian loved that. He was just like, yeah, I normally don't like disobedience. Yeah, that's it. And skip to the when they're at the lake, and he's talking about all the firsts. I thought that was so adorable, and how that was really important for him to like admit, hey, yeah, no, you're different. You're not like the other subs. I took you on a plane ride. You met my mom. Like, he's never done any of that. I sleep with you. Like, I really appreciate how he admits that. Then when we go to the apartment again, they're talking about briefly last night, and I love how Kate just said, you look different. And she just looks so happy and proud of Anna. Like, she was happy for her genuinely, and you could tell it by her face. Actor did great. And then the montage of like the contract, like where they're reading it and Christian was like reading the terms, the conditions. I felt like that was really important because that gave more context, and when I read the cons, you'll realize that there was a little bit of issue I had with the context and throughout the movie. And I really appreciated how they explained the contract, even without, like, sitting down and being like, yeah. But, like, it showed the moving of, like, life with her moving into the new apartment, but still keeping on that scene of, hey, contract, without, like, holding up too much time. Then, when Anastasia does her little disobedience joke and says, nice knowing you, and sends the email to Christian, I love how that whole scene was just perfectly lit, and the camera work was great. It didn't focus too much on one particular part. It, like, went throughout the entire body, different angles of the whole body during that entire scene, and the music was fitting too. It was just gorgeous. I really appreciate the sexual coordinator. They did great with this whole movie and, like, the other 2 movies, but we'll get on that in a different episode. The whole movie, I love the email pop-ups, like the text messages, the emails, the calling things. I like how they add the text messages so you can read it on the screen. I love that editing. That's one of my biggest goals, and one of my projects that I want to do. I want to have, like, the text pop-ups. Then we're moving on to the contract, where they have, like, the little meeting and discuss the contract. I love the lighting. It was a little bit odd, but, like, it fits kind of, and I love that, because it's like, okay, why is there this lighting that's not realistic? One of the only things I'll accept that's not realistic is lighting, because it added drama to the scene, and if it was realistic, you would have had overhead lights blinding the whole room. Just didn't give the mood that it wanted. Like, that was a serious, like, mood, talking about, like, a sexual contract. You need good lighting, and I felt like that gave it. And I loved how, like, they showed the papers, like, instead of just being like, I don't want this, and then you just saw them crossing it off. I love how they, like, showed the paper and showed him crossing it off. Like, that was a good detail for me, because I felt like I was in the moment. And when he offers off the dates, like, ice skating, romance, flowers, like, you could see, like, hesitation, but also desperation, because he wanted to do anything to keep Anna, and I was just like, yes. Then I like how she teases him at the end. Like, that's just so her. She was just like, yeah, what if I, like, you want to bend me over on the table, like, and then she just leaves. That's so her, and he loves it. When she's leaving and she goes to get in her car, I like the cars in the background. That's a very simple detail, but I liked how it made it feel, like, realistic, like there's people actually driving by, instead of just being, like, a blank street, you know? And then we're going to cut to graduation. The cut may seem rushed. However, it was brilliant how smooth it was, because, like, it could have been very random, but they did it so smooth. It was smooth. The set work for, like, the background during Christian's speech was, like, they had all, like, the majors, they had, like, the categories. It was gorgeous. Like, details. Lighting and emotion during Anna's phone call with her mom after graduation, after Christian leaves. It was emotional. Like, the lighting and the voicing, the acting, the camera work, the, like, camera cuts, it just all portrayed it perfectly, and it felt so emotional and real. Now we're cutting to the first Red Room experience. This is when he had the flogger and was, like, hitting her with it gently. It was beautiful. It was real, and I felt like he was really looking out for how he treated her for her first Red Room experience, and I feel like that's not normal for him. Well, it's not, because he normally just shoves the subs into the room and he's like, dang it. But he took his time with her because he cares. The camera was wonderful. Beautiful angles, and the music sets a mood so well. And the lack of dialogue, it just made it a cinematic masterpiece. And it was gorgeous. Like, Crazy in Love playing in the background. It didn't even start, like, the words didn't start until, like, it got intense. And I loved how it was just, like, nice and smooth. I mean, we're focusing on mainly just them enjoying it. The camera work while they were dancing after the Red Room experience and before they went to dinner. It was gorgeous. Like, they really focused on the dancing instead of being, like, all up in their faces. And I feel like that was really important. When they're doing the tour of the grounds, when Christian got mad about Anna going to Georgia at the family dinner, the set was gorgeous. Like, it looked so real. Like, I keep saying real. I don't have any, like, other descriptions because realism is just really important to me. And the set was gorgeous. The set was real. That's basically just all I gotta say about that. When they go back to Christian's apartment and Anna's sleeping and Christian's talking about his mom, it, like, the blue lighting, like, obviously it's dark, but, like, the blue lighting just made it so emotional because he was just like, she was a drug addict. But, like, it was so beautiful. When Anna goes to Georgia with her mom, or to visit her mom, you can tell how she looks at her mom and Bob when they're at the table. She just, like, thinking about Christian, even if it's not, like, directly stated. You can tell she's thinking about that and being like, hey, is this what coupley things would be like with Christian? And even, like, when she's in bed and hearing them laughing in the next room, she's just like, dang, is this what this is gonna be like with Christian? And then after Christian tells her that he is going on a dinner date, he's going to have dinner with Mrs. Robinson, the missed phone call during that camera angles were beautiful. Like, on the phone vibrating, Christian's phone, like, showing him actually going to call Anna. Perfection. And her ignoring it, so her. The plane scene after Christian goes to Georgia and gets her, and they go on a little date to the plane. First of all, he calls her his girlfriend.
This is my girlfriend.
To the plane guy. That's very important too. And then, like, just the music. One last night, with the cinematic shots of the plane. Like, 99% chance that was filmed with CGI. Looked real. How? That's important. That's very important. And it was beautiful. It was done great. Then after they land, and Christian and Anna are kind of, like, talking, and he's just like, I don't do the romance thing. You can tell there's, like, reluctant emotions from Christian, but he's just, like, trying so hard to give in. Then when he has to go back, and then Anna comes back to Seattle and walks in the apartment, he immediately kisses her, and you can tell that there's just so much I need you emotion in that kiss, especially since that was the first thing. It was just like a rejuvenating moment for him. Then the second Red Room experience, it's exactly how I pictured it. It's the one where they're, like, doing classical music with, like, the flogger and stuff. It was exactly how I pictured it. No words needed. In the book, that's exactly how I pictured it. After that second Red Room experience and Anna goes to bed, the piano scene after that, when she wakes up, goes to the piano, it is just so perfect for the mood. It's just dark, and I feel like that's very important for, like, the dark emotions that's inside of Christian. Kind of symbolizes how it can be depressing, especially with the music that he's playing. And the dialogue and body movement when he's, like, pushing her away and he, like, gets up from the piano, and, like, the anger in his voice, like, for that whole scene, even when he's like, I'm 50 shades up, you know, like, it just felt so real, the emotions through that whole scene. He was just like, I can't, you know, anger, but he's just also like, I can't give this to you. It's sad in him too, but he can't do it. Then when she says, show me how bad it can be, that whole scene, perfect angles, and you can, like, see the pain when he's bent over and he's just, like, whipping him. But I loved how it focused on Christian. Like, obviously it was Anna, like, she was crying from the pain, but I love how it focused on Christian. And you can see that he loves the pain in general. He loves inflicting the pain. But you can see in his eyes that he hates inflicting it on Anna specifically. Like, there's hesitation in each of his smacks. He's just like, is this really worth it? When Anna finally is just like, no. Gets up. And then she's just like, you will not do that to me again. Don't touch me. The emotions are just perfectly portrayed. Perfectly from both sides. But, like, in particular, Anna. Her sadness and pain. It's just there. And it's gorgeous. Like, the way Dakota Johnson did that. Like, perfect tears. And then the lighting on her tears, too. That was just mwah, chef's kiss. Then when she goes into the sub room, lays down, the rain in the background, I felt like that was a good little kind of inflection of the sadness, because that rain was not happening beforehand. And I felt like that really added to the mood of the whole scene. And then when Christian says, please don't hate me, proves that he hated inflicting it on her. Hated inflicting that pain, specifically on her. He didn't want her to run away. This is just a huge paragraph of me, like, really talking about how beautiful the scene was. And I specifically wrote, this whole scene is perfect, from lighting to dialogue to action movements and the silence. The silence was really important, because they were just sitting in silence, but there were so many words being said that were not being said, and I felt like that was really important. The transition from the night to day was gorgeous. Like, normally that would be really weird, especially since it was just so abrupt, but it was like in your face, but like smooth. When Christian was sitting on the couch, like, and then Anna was standing up asking for her car money, you can just tell he's deep in thought. He's just like, what the I don't want her to leave. What am I doing? And then the full elevator moment that I was talking about. Anna, Christian, as the doors close. And then the end credit to Earned It. It was perfection. Like, those are the pros. Let's get into the cons. So the pros definitely outweighed the cons on this movie, because I ended up having like 6 columns of pros and only like 2.5 of cons. So immediately cutting into the first thing, where I said on the pros side that I appreciated the pacing of the meeting scene, I said, however, the dialogue was a bit choppy, and it was. I understand it though, because it is an interview, but it could have been smoother. However, you can immediately tell that Anna is different from the other subs just from that first scene. You can tell how he was still looking at her like with admiration, be like, hey, okay, this is different. I can already tell. Nothing's even been said. But I hate how it was written. It was too obvious. And it could be the book's fault for that, for being written that way. But it was just with like, tell me about you. That could be general, but it just felt a little too obvious in my soul. Another thing was the cut from talking about the photo shoot to the photo shoot. It was just too quick. I felt like we needed a little bit more kind of bridge between that, because there's like nothing there. I felt like we could at least like seen Kate meeting Christian, since that was the first time. When did he also ask her to coffee? In the books, I know it like had a specific scene for that. I just wish that would have been incorporated into the movies, because she was just like, yeah, he also asked me to coffee after, and I felt like Kate there was like, what? What do you mean? They came out of nowhere. It was just kind of written in there. Then, to the bar scene where she's like with Jose, he kind of just pops out. What? I know he said he was calling, but it was like 5 minutes since they called. Where'd he come from? I know he ain't got no like super speed jet. He might. Okay, so for the next con, I wrote specifically, Christian is written like a sexy Wattpad character. That is bad, because it's not as realistic, but then it sort of fits the movie. So this movie can't really have cons, because like there's always something that fits with the movie. So like his sexy Wattpad kind of thing kind of fits with the movie in a way I can't even explain. The transition scene with Kate and the helicopter scene was like rushed, because it was just like, Kate, Oh my god, wait, she's being picked up by Taylor? And going to a helicopter? What do you mean? That came out of nowhere. I just felt like that was a little bit rushed. But I do understand it wasn't really that important of a scene. The Red Room introduction kind of makes me cringe. But I feel like it fits. His reaction to her being a virgin is cringily funny. Because he's just like, what? You're a virgin? Ain't no way. He likes getting mad like for a little second. And I just kind of be like, okay. But it was funny. So that's what I meant by cringily funny. At the end, like where they're doing the hand tie thing, Anna meets Christian's mom. I felt like that was a little rushed. Like, could we not talk to her a little bit longer? Why was she such in a rush to get home? Earned It kind of came out of nowhere. It was when Christian was taking Anna home. Then they went to the woods. I was like, why are they talking about this in the woods? Where did this plan come from? Kind of out of nowhere. And why didn't Anna question it? Why? I would be like, why are we in the woods? Also, why did random presents just pop out of nowhere? He had no time to buy or ship those because it's been like a week in time, and they were together 90% of the days. So I was a little confused at that point. Also, during the nice knowing you scene where he like came into her apartment, how did he get into her apartment? Like, and why doesn't she question it? Did I miss something? Did he have like a key? I don't know. I would have questioned it, but you know. Then the elevator ride before the contract meeting, where she's like holding the files like this, and she's just like, why was that so intense? It's an elevator ride to a very intense meeting, but like, I feel like it was too intense for that one elevator ride scene. Then not touching the food during the contract like scene. I felt really awkward watching that because there was just food sitting there and they didn't touch it the entire scene. I felt like there was no point. When he's analyzing her breathing during the contract scene, I didn't like the close-ups, like where they like closed up into her lips and then the table. Made me a little uncomfortable. I felt like we should have focused from like her face from afar. It just made me uncomfortable. After graduation, I would have loved more on the apartment scene between Anna and Christian. It just felt like really fast. Like, what? I thought we were celebrating and then he just left. Like a little bit more drinks before the spanking would have been great, or like a little bit more conversation. Then we just skipped into the birth control scene and talking about Dr. Green. Like in the books it talks about that and like the meeting with her. I would have loved a little bit more context to that. Like, who's Dr. Green? Then when they went to the Red Room, they were holding hands, but it was like from like this far away. Why is it so far away? I didn't like that. If I was directing that part, I would have them scooch a little bit closer together and like maybe hold hands. It was just like really awkward because it was like that far away. Then with the mom, when Anna flew to Georgia, and they were like in the hotel drinking, and she was like, yeah, I'm drinking, I'll have another one, I don't want no food, you know. And then Christian texts, she ignores it, and then she reads it finally and just like, he's here. Why was that so rushed? Where did he come from? And then he just walked up in like 2 seconds. I was like, okay, that could have been a little bit slower. And then she just left. Like, that was their first time meeting. I would have loved to have a little bit more conversation between that instead of her just leaving and then them going to the plane thing. And then my final note is just the city background looks real in the day, but not for the whole movie. During the night. So yeah, in all, love 50 Shades of Grey. There was lots of pros. It's a good movie. It was a cinematic masterpiece in my opinion. I feel like it's more than just sex, because like there's just like a lot of undertones of like pain and like real emotions, and I felt like it was a good transition into the second movie, which we'll get into in another episode. Thanks for watching.